Hey guys, Red Hunya here. Thanks for joining me here this weekend for another Godzilla Bandai Creations review. Special shout out to the user called Cody the Tyrant King. He told me to check out a store called the Toy Vault to see if they had any Godzilla figures, and I went to two different Toy Vault stores. They're usually located in shopping malls or at least as far as I know, shopping malls. But I went into one to check what they had. They had two figures, if you can see the two figures here. These were the two figures they had. So I picked up one. It's going to be getting a review here today. If you can guess which one it's going to be. Woo! Oh yeah, it's King Ghidorah. So let's kick this review off by taking a quick look at the packaging, and then I'll unbox it. So right here on the front of the box, you have Godzilla with some burning buildings and destruction going on. You even get a little Godzilla 60th anniversary, Bandai 4+. Nothing really on either of the sides. The underneath just has stuff holding the figure in. These are going to be an absolute nightmare to cut out. I can already tell just by looking at that. Collect them all. Now here on the box you got both the figures from this wave or this series. There are logos there, almost like the logos that are on the back of the DVDs and Blu-rays of the monsters that appear in the movie. You got Godzilla and King Ghidorah. Collect them all, some more destruction going on. King Ghidorah right there looking cool, and Godzilla 1954 right there looking pretty sweet too. So it came down to this figure and the Godzilla 1954, and nothing against Godzilla 1954, but I just thought King Ghidorah was a slightly cooler looking figure. We'll find out though when I actually get a review going. And here on the back of the box too, you can even see Godzilla behind him, and the Japanese text right here on the back for Godzilla. So that about does it for the packaging. Not really much else to go over here. So if you give me a sec, I'm gonna try to attempt to cut these out. I'm gonna cut here because these are gonna be freaking annoying to cut out. So once you get those ties out, he just slides out really easily, just held in right here, and his feet are hooked in, but he pops out, and here's your box. And it's not the best box for a figure in the world I've seen, but it's definitely not the worst box. I mean, kind of reminds me of like Hasbro getting a little cheap with the Jurassic Park 3 toys, and you can see the cardboard. It would have been nice if that was just red. Same here on that side, and the underside's just cardboard looking, so I don't know. It's not terrible, but nowhere near as awesome. I'm gonna put that over there. He also has some plastic here on his tail. Really annoying, that plastic, but it just slides off. And you got his really cool looking double tail. Boop. And there you go. So a little history quick before we get this actual review going. King Ghidorah is one of Godzilla's most classic adversaries, I would say. One of his most well-known enemies. He first appeared, King Ghidorah that is, first appeared in the 1964 Godzilla film, Ghidorah, the Three-Headed Monster. And then King Ghidorah appeared again in 1965, Godzilla Invasion of the Astro-Monster. And in 1968, Destroy All Monsters. And actually, King Ghidorah here was in Godzilla vs. Gigan from 1972, helping Gigan out. He wasn't seen again until 1991, the year I was born, and Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah. And then one of his last few appearances was in GMK, which was Godzilla, Mothra, King Ghidorah, Giant Monsters All Out Attack. Whew, that's a mouthful. And he also appeared in Godzilla Final Wars from 2004, but supposedly it wasn't King Ghidorah, it was like Kaiser King Ghidorah. It's still King Ghidorah in my book, but I guess if you're going to be technical, it wasn't actually King Ghidorah. But enough of the history, let's go over this figure. Articulation first, or actually no, before articulation, let's just go over the look of the figure. The figure is basically all gold. He has some really cool looking dragon scales going on, and he's got a double tail, which it moves a little bit, but not too much. So there's a little bit of play in between these, but I wouldn't force it because it's probably not the best, or probably doesn't go much. But the tail moves a little bit. Really nice. Let's look at his head. The three-headed monster inside of his mouth is pink, and he has white teeth. Both of his side heads, the mouths are open, and the middle head, it's closed. Really nice. There's not really many colors on them. They didn't really paint the toe claws, so the figure's mostly all this goldy looking color. The King Ghidorah gold color, and his mouth's pink. And his eyes are a little bit orange looking with a black pupil. So yeah, that's about it. Not really many colors going on here. Articulation is pretty minimal, I would say. The wings can go 360. This one just kind of gets hit on his tail. Both go 360 though. I don't know why you would go 360 with his wings, but they can. His wings look really nice, actually, even though they're hard plastic. Well, actually, they're not. It's weird. You're probably not even gonna be able to see it on camera, but they're a little bit squishy, but not really rubbery feeling. Just like a squishy kind of plastic. It feels like kind of cool though. The figure's basically just a solid model. He's all hard plastic, not really any squishy parts to him. And articulation is only in his wings. Both of his wings go 360, and that's about it. And his tail pieces kind of move here, but I don't really count that as articulation. I mean, his tail can move here on this joint, but then you'll see it's like that. I think that was just to help with him being stored in the package a certain way, so his tail could be forward like this. But predominantly, the tail belongs this way, like that. On this seam here. Shame the legs don't move, kind of stuck, and none of his heads move either, or the jaws close or anything. So he's kind of just a stiff model, but he's pretty cool looking. So he's a pretty stiff model. Not many articulation points here on him besides his two wing pieces and his tail, but I don't even really count the tail, so I'm just going to say he has 2 points of articulation, both of his wings. He doesn't even swivel at the hip, even though he has this seam in the middle of his stomach. Not really any missed opportunities, but I feel like this figure could have been a lot cooler and more enhanced if the neck pieces for all of these heads were almost like the Tanstriophis from Jurassic Park Series 2, you know? And you could like bend them and pose them. Like that would have made this like even cooler than it already is now. Having the ability to bend the necks and move all of his heads in different directions if you want, and you can get some really cool poses out of them if they did. But it doesn't. On the bottom of his foot here, you got trademark copyright 2014 Toho, and on the other one you have China with just some serial code numbers. Yeah. So I'm not going to rate any of the Godzilla figures here, as you guys already know, but I would just barely give this one a pass. It's not terrible, and it's not the greatest. I wanted it because I wanted a King Ghidorah figure in my collection, a part of the Bandai or Bandai Creations line. And I came across this one, and it's not terrible. I just wish it had some slightly more articulation in his heads. I mean, he even all the heads have like these seams here. So like it would have been nice if you could have moved them, but they don't. You actually might if you break the seal, but I actually don't, because I feel like breaking the seal is not good. So yeah, there's not really much else to say about this figure. He's pretty linear and not much articulation. He's kind of just a stiff model, I guess. But I recommend him if you like Godzilla figures, if you want a King Ghidorah in your collection. He's not terrible, but he's not the greatest. And he could have been a lot more improved if he had some more articulation, like if you could have moved his legs somehow, and if you could have posed his necks in different areas, if they were made out of more rubbery vinyl material. So, fingers crossed, maybe Bandai Creations or Bandai would release another one and fix some of those issues. But for the most part, I'm pretty happy with this figure. He's going to look... He does display well and will look good on a shelf next to other kaiju Godzilla monsters and stuff. So If you think he's nice and you want a King Ghidorah, I'd say go for it and pick him up if you can find him in a store. Yeah, that's about it. Give the video a like and leave a comment below if you enjoyed this video, and thank you all for subscribing. We've broken 2,105 subscribers here. That's awesome. And don't forget to tune in next week, as I will be capping off the 1998 Kenner Jurassic Park Chaos Effect reviews with the final review for that playlist. I'm not going to say what it is here. You should be able to tell what video for that playlist is coming next week just by looking at all the videos I've done and seeing the few figures I'm missing. So until next week, guys, Red Hunya signing out. I hope you guys enjoyed this Bandai Creations King Ghidorah review, and have a great weekend.